Everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for Daredevil Season 3. As you guys can see, I've got the Daredevil beanie on again. This is my little reversible thing from Loot Crate. Highly recommend it. It's super cool. This season was awesome. It was just a really good season. There will be spoilers in this review later on, but of course I'll let you guys know when we get to that part of the review. But starting off with simple stuff, I don't know if I'm 100% on it, but I feel like this might be my favorite season. Like, just going through it, I'm like, I didn't feel like there was a moment, maybe in the very beginning, and that was really it. It was like kind of slow, but it was only like the tiniest bit slow, and I'm like, it's the first episode, and they have a lot to establish, especially with Matt coming back from the Defenders and stuff like that. So it was like a tiny bit slow, but even then it wasn't like, oh man, this was a slow first episode. It was fantastic. Just going through it, I was like, this is freaking great. Like, I loved this season, and it was good from beginning to end. The villains were fantastic. Kingpin, obviously great, but Bullseye, they did incredibly well. Like, I loved his story. Matt's kind of resurgence as Daredevil, and of course everyone was super happy with this season because it was like, oh, cool, he's Daredevil costume, but he looks awesome in like just the black outfit. Like, it looks really cool. So it was sweet to see him go back to that. So that was fun to have for the whole season. Maybe going into the next season, we might have him keep the black outfit again. So it's hard to tell. Like, with the way they're doing it, it's like, all right, maybe he'll go back to it, maybe he won't. Mostly because it's Daredevil. So I'm like, I'll talk about that more during the spoiler thing. But I'm like, maybe something else might be coming along. But yeah, it was definitely awesome watching this season. The characters have to go through a lot of crazy stuff. They have, just throughout the whole season, there are moments where I'm like, I'm not 100% sure this is gonna work. Like, the heroes go through stuff, they have their highs, and then it's just like, surprise, Kingpin was doing this, he just figured this out, or he did that like months ago just in case this was gonna happen, and they have to deal with stuff where I'm like, I just don't know who's important enough to survive. It's like, we have our three main people as far as the heroes, is Matt, Foggy, and Karen. Everyone around them, I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. Like Foggy's girlfriend is back in this, and there's some scenes where I'm just like, they're dealing with Kingpin. It's on a very serious level. I don't know if Kingpin is going to find out where Foggy lives. I don't know if he's going to find out where Karen lives. Like, it was literally to the point where I was like, should they even be at their houses right now? Like, there's parts in the season where I was just like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was just a bullet that flew through a window right now. Like, there's stuff like that in this season. I'm like, things are so insane. I don't think they should be at home, period. So it was just going through that whole season. I'm just like, I don't know if this is safe. Like I said, I feel like they were technically safe, but everyone around them, I was just like, I don't know who's important enough to actually survive. So entertaining without a doubt to watch it play out like that, because I'm like, I just don't know. Excuse me. The action, of course, always great. They have their classic, hallway scene. This one is the best. Period. Like, I love the action, I would say, a bit more in the others, but from just the standpoint of like creatively speaking, this is like the best thing. It might be legitimately the best scene, period, in like anything that they've done for all the Marvel shows. Like, just this very specific scene, and you'll know it when you see it. But from literally every single standpoint, I think it's just the best scene that they've ever done. So I love that sequence. And like I said, you'll know it when you see it. All I can say is that there are legitimately no cuts in it. I even read an actual article about it, that they did not put cuts in it, and they did stuff specifically to make sure people realized that there were no cuts. So that's all I can really say about it, but you'll definitely know it when you see it, and it is legitimately one moment. So it was just insane. But loved the whole season. The action was good. Characters were good. Like I said, Bullseye was fantastic as a new character. They have FBI agent Nadeem. He was great in this season, which, and it was a comment that I read that I thought really rang true for shows in general. Is like, Nadeem is the character where, it's possible that he's in the comic books at some point, but obviously he's not, as big as like, oh, Bullseye or Kingpin or, Daredevil. It's like, at some point, maybe FBI agent Nadeem has made an appearance, like Daredevil 158, some random number. But in this show, even though he was, in most shows, he would be like just the natural catalyst, like, oh, here's just the random person to make sure the comic book characters do their cool stuff. He was actually important in this, and it was cool, and I was like, that's actually entertaining to watch. I was like, wow, this is fun. He's not just a throwaway character who's just there to move the story. He actually has his own important, chunk within the story, so it was fun to watch him too. So I was like, all right, that's super cool to watch his character play out, even though he's just the new person, like the catalyst. But everything was super fun. They have like the slightest most minor crossovers or references, not really crossovers, but references to the other stuff. I think maybe like one, honestly, like two. I think it was like legitimately two references the whole season to anything else. My favorite was probably the Jessica Jones one at the end. It was really funny. Um, but yeah, they have like two little references. Other than that, it's like this is just Daredevil. Everything is over there. Most of which is canceled now anyway because they canceled Luke Cage and Iron Fist. But yeah, they were just like, yeah, this is just Daredevil season 3. Period. No, that stuff happened, but Daredevil. So they did a good job with that. It was definitely fun to watch. Like I said, Kingpin was awesome. The way he was portrayed in this was, I think, even more entertaining than the first season, where obviously he was still the criminal mastermind. In season 2, when he's in prison, he's still the criminal mastermind there. Like they have the scene with like Punisher where he's like, let this guy out, because he's basically leading up to what he's doing in this season, which I thought was really cool. But it was fun. It was definitely entertaining to watch. I feel like that's all I can really say without going into the spoilers. It's definitely entertaining. Characters are just great. Sound design was really well done. Like there's some stuff in the very beginning of the season that they do with Matt that's really great, and there's some stuff they do with Bullseye that I just loved. It's just like it's a simple little thing, but I love what they did with him as well for that. But yeah, check out the season if you haven't. It is potentially, arguably the best season of Daredevil. I know a lot of people had their issues with season 2 because it was basically like two separate seasons in one season, because it was like Daredevil season 2 part 1 was Daredevil, and then Daredevil season 2 part 2 was Elektra, or the first part was Punisher, not Daredevil, but it was like Punisher, and then right down the middle it's like boom, Elektra / the Hand. So I totally understood why people didn't like that as much. Although personally, I liked season 2 better than season 1 because I thought the action was so great, and I thought it did flow better because they had the tension with Punisher, where it's like he's the vigilante killing people and Daredevil is the vigilante not killing people. So I like that story more, and I felt that the season was faster paced compared to the first season. So I like that element. I thought it was definitely well done because of that. So I enjoyed season 2, and even though I think the action wasn't as insanely epic, although Punisher, it was just crazy watching Punisher in season 2. Even though it wasn't like as intense as that, it was still great. Especially Daredevil versus Bullseye is some great content. Like that's just fun to watch, honestly. But check out the season if you haven't. I'm officially gonna get into spoilers. So go check out the season, then come back. But if you don't care about spoilers, we're going right into it. And the first thing is a super quick one. Vanessa actually makes a return. I thought that was cool because, in all honesty, with the way it was playing out, I thought it was going to be like, oh, okay, they referenced Vanessa a bunch, but she's not actually going to show up until the next season. They'll finally have her. It'll be like, this is where she's at. She's safe. We'll get her back and stuff, and we'll see her, next season. But I was happy to see that she showed up because it was kind of that TV thing where they referenced the character a bunch, but the actor was busy that day or whatever. They just weren't in the episode. So I thought it was going to be that for like the whole season, and then it was like, oh, she actually showed up in New York, and she came back into the fold, and then she is officially a part of what Kingpin does, because she's like, I feel like I'm still away from you. Like when I had all your men there, it was like they were there to protect me, and it was fine, and you were there in a sense, but you weren't there, and that's how I feel. So he's like, all right, you are officially a part of everything. Anything I know, you're gonna know. So I thought that was cool that they brought her into the fold. I wasn't 100% sure she would actually live, especially after Matt was like, hey, check out this freezer, and then Bullseye went like super crazy. I wasn't 100% sure she was gonna make it, but I was like, okay. So she officially came back, they get married and everything, so I was like, all right, this is nuts. But I was happy to see her come back. Like I said, I was surprised because they referenced it so much. It's like, oh, well, she moved here and she moved there. I was like, oh, we're not actually going to see her. They're just going to be like kind of looking for her the whole season. But she showed up, so I thought that was cool. Going into Bullseye, amazing. I thought he was going to come in instantly as a villain, and it was just going to be Kingpin found out about this epic dude and he hired him. And I thought that was going to be it. And then it's like, nope, it's actually one of the good guys. Like he comes in, he's the last guy standing. I knew it was him mostly because I knew Bullseye was coming in. So if I didn't know anything about the season, I probably still would have figured it out, because I'm like, well, he just shot, like he ricocheted a bullet, like, even in that first sequence, and he like took his gun apart and he like threw the top part and he like killed somebody. He threw it in their neck and he hit somebody else in the head. So I'm like, all right, that's definitely Bullseye. And he's one of the agents. He's one of the FBI agents, and he like hated Fisk in the beginning too. So it was really fun watching that. And Fisk was like, all right, so I can have him followed. He's following this other girl that he's gotten attached to. He gets his file. It's like, oh, he's crazy. He's an actual psychopath. And the way he manipulates him is so sad. Like, it was just so messed up. Like, he's a crazy character in general, but it was just sad how he did it. And so he's like messing with him, and he gets the woman that he's been following hired there because he knows like they're gonna have a conversation, and eventually he's gonna say something where it's like, how did you know that? Which he does. It's like, you worked at the place for 3 years. So he slips up, and that's completely ruined. So he's just out of his mind now. And so he starts going back to listening to his tapes and stuff, and that doesn't work. But Fisk, he gets him to play as Daredevil for a bit, and that was just an insane sequence where he goes through and he's just killing people left and right. And then I thought it was funny, in the next episode he goes back to listen to the tapes. I was like, I think it's a little late. Like, you just murdered a buttload of people, and it's like, I gotta listen to my tapes to calm down. I'm like, I think you missed the mark on that. But he tries, and oddly enough, he had his split second where he was actually getting back to normal, and he runs into he followed her. So he finds the woman, and he's like, hey, I understand if you don't ever want to see me, I just want to explain myself. And it works. She's like, okay, I'm gonna help you, and don't make me regret it. And she doesn't even get the chance to regret it, because Fisk is like, well, I know. And so she gets killed. It was just like, oh, hey, manager let you guys in, boom, she's dead. And it's just like, wow, that's sad. That was effed up. That was super effed up. And so then, they take the phone and it's like, don't ever, get in touch with me again. So that sends him on a spiral again, and they use like hornets buzzing around when he starts to go crazy. I thought that was a great idea. And so, of course, Fisk is able to get him again. It's like, sometimes you just have to scream, and, he screams, and then he hugs him, and it's like, okay, you don't have to kill him, because those are the painter guys. They were waiting to, if he didn't do it, they were going to get rid of him. But, man, he was a good character. I can't wait to see him come back. I don't know if they're going to put him into Daredevil Season 4, or if he's going to show up, somewhere else. Not that there are many options now. They got, Punisher or Jessica Jones, because they canceled Luke Cage and Iron Fist. But wherever he shows up again, it should be fun. And they did, I thought it was kind of cheesy at the very end, because they do like the zoom in on the eye, and it's like a bullseye and stuff. I was like, okay, I guess. But I was like, it was funny, like, going through this whole season. That was like the cheesiest thing that they did. It was like the epic super zoom in. It was like, oh, his eye opened up and there's a bullseye on it because he's Bullseye. And I was just like, that was super cheesy for like this whole season. I felt was so grounded for which Daredevil was meant to be the most grounded. And it was just super funny. I was like, that is oddly the cheesiest thing in this whole season. It was like epic zoom in, Bullseye. But it was still cool. So I'm looking forward to him coming back. And they talk about the fact that his spine's super messed up, like he couldn't feel his legs and stuff. And in the comics, I didn't even know this until very recently, actually, because everyone was like, a bunch of Daredevil news. So Punisher and Daredevil info, and then Bullseye info. I found out that he actually has, in the comic books, he has like adamantium like in some parts of his body. So it's like, okay, they're kind of teasing the fact that he's gonna have like insanely tough bones and stuff. They can't say adamantium until they decide to figure out however that's gonna play out with Disney, Fox, and can't say mutant, can't say this and that. So maybe it'll be vibranium. Somehow somebody stole some vibranium, so he was able to do it since they got Black Panther. So I thought that was cool, but all in all, he was a great villain. Watching him fight, Daredevil versus Bullseye was just insanely awesome, and then having those opposite fighting styles where it's like, well, Bullseye has to get far away because he's not nearly as good as Matt. Like, up close, Matt was like destroying him, and the only time where that wasn't the case, I think, was when they were in the church, and Matt was already kind of messed up a little bit there, and so that was like really the only time that was actually happening, where it was like he was already going through the process where it was like, I was about to get Kingpin, and he had to take off to get across the city, and then he has to start saving people and stuff. So that was really like the only time where that really took place, at least as far as the hand-to-hand part. Like, because in that first fight, Matt was getting effed up because it was like, what's going on with this dude? Like, he's throwing balls around the corner and like hitting me in the face, and like he gets hit in the nose and stuff, and I'm like, he's getting effed up. So it's like, I gotta get up close to him, and then Bullseye's like, I gotta get far away, because like I said, Bullseye could get a few hits in, but he was getting like destroyed. So it was like, all right, I gotta back off. Matt's like, I gotta get close. So I love the way that they had to balance out their fighting styles, and I thought it was really fun watching them fight throughout the season. So that was definitely awesome. Kingpin was super fun. Like, just in general, like, he was just good. He was great. So I loved watching his progression, and I'm excited to see where it goes with him going back to prison. And it's like, well, he can't share Matt's secret, because he'll be like, well, if you reveal my secret, then you're screwed, because I'll have all this info on Vanessa, and then you'll lose her too. So I thought it was cool. It was like that interesting thing, and it's like, well, what? Where do they go with that? Like, what happens when she does get killed off? Because I don't know what they're gonna do with Bullseye, but he's pissed, and if he can't reach Kingpin, he's gonna go after Vanessa. So she might die, or King. I don't know how Kingpin could possibly get out on legit terms. So I don't think that'll happen. But I think it'll be like Vanessa dies, and then somehow Matt, is Daredevil again. Like, it's revealed that he's Daredevil. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. And another big thing is that the whole beginning of the season, really the whole season in general, was Matt kind of saying like, I'm not, I've kind of given up Daredevil, period. So that's why he goes back to the black suit, which was super awesome. But I'm curious if they're gonna give him a new outfit going into the next season. Like, he'll probably still be Daredevil, but maybe he won't call himself that, but everyone else will still do it. So it's like, I don't go by Daredevil, but everyone calls him that. But I feel like they might give him a new costume. I don't know if they will or not. But it would be super cool. Like, I don't know if they would go, like, one of the costumes that I know that I love, honestly, from the comics, is actually, I think it's when he takes, it's kind of like, it's almost like a hand outfit. It's like, it's black and red, which outfits typically are, but it's like red in the middle, but like the arms, I think, are black, and it's almost like he's got, kind of like how he does the Muay Thai, the ropes on his hands. It's just like that. Like, the actual outfit is that, with like its bandages like on his forearms, and then it's like white bandages or something like that, but the outfit is like black, and then he's got the red Daredevil. So they could do that, where it's like, it's one of his costumes from the comics. It's an official suit, but it's still mostly black and stuff, because people seem to like that. It looks cooler, and it does look way cooler. It's just a cool looking outfit. It's like, it's sleek, it's very ninja like, because it's generic black outfit. But it's super cool. And they had, in this season compared to the first season, the little bit of white underneath that you could see. I thought that was cool, and that was their cool reference, where it's like, he wears black on the outside, but ultimately he's the good guy. There's a little bit of white underneath. And with Kingpin, he wore white on the outside, but there was black underneath. Like, his outfit, his shirt underneath the suit was a black suit, or a black shirt. So I always thought that was kind of cool. Like, there was that little thing, like, the what's shown on the outside is different than what's really on the inside. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But definitely great. So I don't know what they're gonna do with it, with him kind of giving up the mantle of Daredevil. Will he, will they keep the black suit for a minute? Will he get one of the new costumes, or get a new costume, one of the ones from the comics? I doubt they'll go with like the yellow one that he had, which I never liked. He does have like a yellow, I think it's yellow and red in the comics, if I remember. He's got some bright outfits in comic books, and you get some wild stuff. But yeah, it was definitely awesome. So I don't know what we'll get to see going into the next season. They might just keep it for a little minute and try to figure something out, since people like the black outfit more than they like the actual Daredevil costume. But fortunately, technically we got 2 seasons of that, because we got season 2, and then we got Defender. So right now it's split right down the middle. We have 2 seasons worth of content, at least, of Matt as Daredevil, or full on Daredevil, red costume and everything. So we'll see where it goes going forward. But for now, black suit is back. I'm totally fine with it. I think everyone else is, because it just looks cool. But that was awesome. Everything going on with the characters this season was really good. Foggy figuring stuff out, and then having to deal with the stuff with his family. I was like, all right, well, are they gonna live? Are they gonna die? Stuff with Karen. I know people don't like Karen. I personally love her character because of how crazy things get. And it's, people hate her character because it doesn't work. Like, she does the right thing. Admittedly, she does the right things. It's like, we can do this, we can save these people, we can make this happen, we'll get Kingpin. Except for the fact that Kingpin is such an insane effing genius that he always knows what they can do, or what they're about to do, or he's got somebody somewhere super high up, like, this person's about to be here, they're the one thing that can take you down. And of course it happens again. It happened in the first season with Karen, and Fisk and Ben, he kills Ben. So I was like, all right, well, another Ben dead on the Marvel streets. So he's gone, and it's like everyone kind of hated Karen for that, because she was trying to get to the truth and take down Kingpin. But it's like, well, that's a good thing. Like, yeah, somebody died, but that's only because they're dealing with supervillains. And then the same thing happens again, and people hate her character because technically the way they write it, if she were Matt, well, not in this case, but for in most cases, if the hero does that risky thing, it works. But for her character, that's like the trajectory, is that she has this insanely great altruistic idea, it just always fails, and a bunch of people die every single time. And it's like, it's so effed up, but that's why people hate her character. Like, it's written to be that way, where it fails continuously. But when we get that flashback episode, we see why she keeps going. Like, why she, even though it hurts her so much when it fails, especially in this season, because like so many people died that she actually knew, the reason she goes for it is because it's like, I don't have anything else to fall back on. Like, her past sucked because her brother died, which admittedly, it was kind of funny. When I saw the flashback, I was like, I don't feel like this is her fault in any way, shape, or form. Like, her brother legitimately burned down the dude's house, and I was like, that seemed like it was super far. Like, I felt like that was his fault more than anything else. And yes, she was drunk and stuff, but the plan wasn't to go back to, you know, a cabin that was, or a trailer that was like completely torched because her brother was pissed. So I was like, I feel like that wasn't actually her fault in that case. That's my opinion on it. I'm sure some people could still see it different ways, but I was like, yeah, she wasn't making the best choices being on drugs, and her brother was trying to, you know, kind of get her out of there and stuff. But it's still like, yeah, he torched the thing to try to make that the catalyst for her leaving. And it was like, I don't think that was really on her that happened. It was a terrible thing that happened, but I'm like, I don't blame her for that one. Some people do, including her father. But yeah, you know, it was just interesting. Like, she was just kind of stuck in this very odd position where it's like, I can't leave because dad is terrible. He was a crappy dude. Like, he sucked. The police captain, whoever the dude was, he sucked. He was a douchebag. It was like, it's 601. It's like, man, eat a dick. So, you know, she was stuck in some crappy situations, but it was just like, man, it's interesting watching this character where all she wants to do is do the right thing. That's all she keeps trying to do. But she's dealing with like the most evil genius ever. And the one time that she was able to kind of pull one up, you know, get one up on Kingpin, it would have probably resulted in her death when she reveals to him that she's the one. I can't remember the guy's name at all, but you know, she killed like basically his best friend, and he flips out, and she almost had him. But then, you know, the FBI comes in because Foggy was like, "You're about to get killed." So, you know, like, she always tries, but it always fails. And I think that's really good writing on the writer's parts to make people hate her character. But I don't. And it's like, even though it fails, I don't know. For me, I don't see it as like she got all those people killed. Like, she's trying, but it's like, dang, Kingpin is an effing genius. Like, there's always someone just one step above. Because I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was like, oh, they actually did it. I figured it was going to fail, but I'm like, they got it, but somehow he's going to escape. I just thought Kingpin's going to get out of this anyway. I didn't think it was going to lead to everyone dying. I just thought he was going to get away with it somehow. And sadly, he does. It was just like an insane bullseye-based genocide where he just wiped out a whole building of people. So, you know, sadly, it's a classic Karen move, I guess. I don't know. It makes people hate her for sure, and I totally understand why. But for me personally, I don't, and I really like that episode where it just showed where where she came from and stuff. But really fun season. Can't wait to see what they do with the next one. You know, Vanessa kind of taking over, Kingpin back in prison, Bullseye coming back, Matt doing whatever he's gonna do with the Daredevil moniker. Him knowing about his mom, which I thought was really cool. I knew that she was in the season, and it was funny. I thought they weren't gonna do it because I'd heard before it was like Maria, when they reference it in the Defenders, like that's his mom. And so I was like, okay, they referenced it in the beginning when the father's like, oh, this is, I believe his dad's name is Jack. It's like, this is Jack Murdoch's son. And they're like, oh, I've made a mistake, you know, by calling her. I was like, oh, okay, so that it's going to be his mom. But then they went so long without referencing it, I forgot. And I was like, I guess they just aren't going to do it. It's just going to be like that reference for people that know. And then they did it like with like 3 or 4 episodes left to go. It may have been like 5 still. But I was like, crap, I forgot about that. I just assumed they weren't doing it because it's been a super long time. And then they saved it for like towards the end of the season. I was like, oh, no, they're still putting it in there. So that was cool. You know, we get the flashback, which I thought was weird. That was one thing I thought was weird the whole season. When they did the flashback, I was like, they used the same actor for his dad, which I thought it was cool that they brought him back, but I thought it was so weird because I'm like, this dude looks way older than the young version of this actress that they got. Whereas like clearly it looked like she was like 19 or, you know, in the early 20s or something. And I'm like, they used the exact same actor. I was like, why didn't they just get a younger person and then just go with that? Like, they were just different people, and then just have him come back for when Matt is kind of talking to himself and just talking to his dad. And I thought that was so weird. I was like, why did they just use the same dude? Why didn't they just use a younger actor? If they're using one for her, use one for him. Like it just made it seem super weird. Cause I'm like, it's clearly, it's the actor, but they had like this 19-year-old woman, playing the young version of Matt's mom. So I thought that was super weird, but still, we get that flashback and it was pretty cool, and just why she left in postpartum depression where they didn't know, and she thought it was just like she felt like she sinned against God and she just wasn't there, and that's why she took off. So it's like, man, that's pretty nuts. Fogwell's gym does make a return. They do have an awesome Spider-Man reference. If it wasn't a Spider-Man reference, it's the most insane coincidence in the effing universe. But in the gym, there's is a poster, and it's during the scene. The one scene I can specifically think of when Matt and Foggy are trying to make a deal for Nadeem, and they have the DA come in. I think it's when they show Foggy. There's a poster in the background against the wall, and it says Parker versus Morales, and that's a Spider-Man reference. So I was like, well, that's super cool, and you probably wouldn't notice it because they don't focus on it. It's just, you can see it, you can read it well enough, even if it's out of focus. And I was like, that's super awesome. So if that wasn't somehow a Spider-Man reference, that's the most insane coincidence in the actual known universe. But I'm pretty sure it was a Spider-Man reference because it's Peter Parker, Miles Morales. So I thought that was super cool. They kind of threw that in there. I don't know if that means anything. I highly doubt it. But I was like, oh, that's super cool. It's a Spider-Man reference. But yeah, that I thought was definitely super cool. But really love this season. Can't wait to see what they do with season 4. I'm curious what's going to happen in general. Now that they've canceled Iron Fist and Luke Cage, a lot of people are like, well, are they going to make 2 new shows? Because of course they can do, finally, Heroes for Hire. And a ton of people want to see Daughters of the Dragon with Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. So I was like, yeah, do that. Because that was like the best scene in Luke Cage season 2 was when Danny came in. As far as I was concerned, I was like, this is awesome. That also made me super excited for Iron Fist season 2. Because I was like, finally, Danny, from the comics. And then season 2 came out, and I was like, he's not. Ouch, this sucks. So we'll see what happens with that. But with things kind of being up in the air with so many of the shows, I assume Punisher season 2. I know they're filming for that. They already started filming, so I know we're getting that for sure. Jessica Jones season 3, we'll have to wait and see if that's on the chopping block too. But for now, Daredevil's still doing great, and that's, I guess, all that really matters. That was always my favorite one anyway. So it's like, as long as my favorite one continues to be fantastic and it's even better, this season, then it's good. So we'll see what happens. It might all be back on, Daredevil. Like everything that happens has to be through Daredevil, or they'll make, the miniseries again to just bring people in. But either way, this season was fantastic. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. What do you guys think of Bullseye? What do you think is going to end up happening in the future with Bullseye? What's going to happen with Kingpin, Vanessa? Should we expect a new suit for Matt Murdock as Daredevil? Because I think that'll be awesome. But it's hard to say. They barely use the red suit, but they do still have it. So we'll see what happens there. I want to know your predictions, what you thought about the season, favorite moment from the season, least favorite moment. The 11-minute hallway sequence, best thing ever. That was just super freaking cool. That I just love that scene. Like, after just watching that, I was like, there have to be cuts here, but there weren't. And I read an article where they were like, yeah, they brightened up like dark scenes because they filmed segments where they could do the cuts, which is always like when someone goes into someone's back and it gets super dark. That's always like a classic thing. You see it a lot. If you watch Arrow, they do that all the time where I love their cuts actually for that show because they always do it, and they'll like fade into someone's back, or they'll like go into a light and then it'll flash and it'll be like a different light in a different area. I actually love Arrow just from a technical standpoint. I always like the show for that. Like they always kept their cuts always like that. They've done it since the beginning, but I've always liked that. So they did it during that scene where it's like, we can cut here if we need to, but they didn't. They had a great 11-minute sequence, which is ridiculous, but that was fantastic. That was so good. But we'd love to know what you guys thought about the season as a whole, like I said, and your predictions going forward. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.